knowing how landlords, like I've been through some nightmare evictions in the last year. Even though I have a lot of Section 8 property, my Section 8 tenants move out. I put a regular tenant in there. You know, my property management companies, because I don't manage the properties. I don't go see them. I don't do that shit. Right? So my property management company put 3 people in different properties I had around the United States, pay the first month's rent, pay security. Next thing you know, they don't pay rent the next month. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? You know why? Because they know the courts are backed up. I couldn't get them out for some a year and a half, not paying rent. Dude, once COVID started, you got to think all the courts were backed up with evicting people. All of them. And it's not even the courts. Because after you can, like landlord-friendly states. So I know people are like, oh, landlord-friendly states, you could kick people out. Yeah, inside the court, you can get them evicted in 6 weeks. They create the notice. Now here's the notice. But who has to deliver the notice to kick them out? That's the sheriff department. Sheriff department in a lot of states and counties have 5, 6 people to try to evict thousands of people. So now you're on a waiting list and they notice. So here's the thing that's happening, and I want y'all landlords to be aware of this. Be aware. This is why I only go with programs. You're a landlord. Let's say you're getting $1,000 a month. Tenant moves in, he's not paying you rent. You want to evict him. You know it's going to take 12 months. You've been through this already. Right. So you're losing $12,000, right? But the tenant says to you, I'll move out if you give me 5.
They know. Yeah.
You know how many times that happened to me? And now you got a dude in New York. It happened to him for $5,000. And there's an article where there's a guy who had a mansion, a lady with a good job rented his mansion for $30,000 a month. She did the same thing to him in California. So he was losing rent for over a year now, $30,000 a month. $30,000 a month. So now if that person come to you and say, you know what, just give me $7,000, you losing $12,000. Somebody say, just give me 5. You're gonna give them 5. But the bad part about it is when you give them 5, you can't put it on their record as an eviction because they left on their own. So now the next landlord get caught when they doing a review, no evictions, it looks clean. Got him. Got him.
Cycle, they just keep.
So if you're losing $30,000 a month, and that's a year, that's $360,000. So they said, give me 100, I'll leave. You're gonna give them 100 so they can go. That's why, bro, programs, and I hate to put it this way, but the new mindset that has happened with a lot of Americans, especially younger ones, is the get over mentality. It really is. It's like, yo, I'm gonna get over, I'm gonna get this bread. How you getting bread? Oh, you doing that? I'm gonna do that. Oh, I did a couple of posts where they're literally showing you how to be squatters and take people's house. They got websites dedicated to squatters, showing you how to squat. They show you how to break the lockbox. They show you how to make the fake lease.
How to turn the lights on.
All of this.
Yeah.
And for those who got to deal with squatter situations, I'm going to give you some advice. What you can do is, if you know your apartment is vacant as a landlord, create a lease for yourself as a landlord. So if they try to, the police go there and they say, oh, no, we have a lease. No, you show them your original lease, that you're the tenant of the property. Because now your lease has your signature, supersedes the squatter's lease. So you got to have a lease to out-validate their lease, all right? So y'all get up on that and make sure you have the lights and stuff on in your name.
Hey, so I know you're watching the episode and you're probably enjoying it by now, and you're probably an entrepreneur, a business owner, or even somebody that's looking to level up and have some motion and success. So listen, I understand there's one thing that a lot of people have in common that usually stops them from growing, and that's having bad credit. So now, instead of paying credit repair companies $1,500, $1,200, $1,000 to get your credit fixed and not even see any, the results that you want to see, what I went ahead and did was created a system that you can literally go out and repair your own credit. With less than 15 minutes of work, you can literally start sending out your dispute letters by tonight. I don't care what time you're watching this episode. You can send out your letters tonight and get the ball rolling. Listen, go to metro2magnate.com. That's METRO, the number 2, MAGNATE.com. Metro2magnate.com, and I will see you guys on the inside. Get back to the episode. Keep on enjoying. Like, comment, and subscribe for more motion and success, y'all. See you guys on the inside.
It's man. I'm gonna let you go to the question.
Wow. I was gonna say like that was a lot of game for all the landlords out there. Like, nah, that right there, that right there is gonna save y'all a lot of like time and, you feel me, a lot of that headache of dealing with tenants who don't pay. But I want to jump back on track. Like, so I seen, like, doing my research, I seen that you bought a brownstone back in the days for 350,000.
1999. Yeah.
Not today. Like that's like worth gold. Like
Yeah,
right
that's a
now.
1.7.
Yeah, that's crazy.
1.7.
So being that you were working and you was doing a 9 to 5 during that time, what gave you that courage to just like place that bet? Or were you, like you said, 6 steps ahead and you kind of knew like this is probably gonna be worth something?
My father got things in the 70s. We didn't own our house we lived in.
Mhm.
And in the 70s, they wasn't loaning money in the inner cities. There was redlining. Redlining was in the 60s. You guys might be too young. I don't know if you ever heard of what redlining is.
I
It's
heard
when
the
they
term.
they restrict certain areas from loaning people money or people buying houses in this area. And they did that to a lot of black areas, Brooklyn, Harlem, stuff like that. And my dad, and he would have loved to buy a home, but banks wouldn't loan him money. So there was a law passed, the Fair Housing Act in 1968. But just because a law passed, that don't mean banks still would oblige them and loan money. So once I knew where my dad and other people wanted to own their homes and I started paying rent, I understood what it felt like paying somebody else's mortgage. And that's when I was a renter. And I said, I didn't know the brownstone was going to be worth that much. I just got tired of paying somebody else rent. And I said, shit, if I buy this spot, the tenants, I'll be paying my rent. And that was 1999. But in 1995, I wanted to buy real estate on Bergen and Washington. If y'all know this area around here,
Not too far from
Bergen
there.
and Washington, there was an older gentleman who wanted to sell me 2 of his brownstones for over $300,000. But you got to think now, we talking crack, we talking heroin, we talking murder, death, kill, those who even remember that area. But I was like, yo, if I buy these, though, the rent, and my 2 boys went with me, and this is the important value of having people with you who understand your vision. I took them around there with me. They was like, oh, hell no. You bet not buy these cribs. I was like, yo, bro, if I get these 2 buildings, I'll rent them out.
Yeah.
And, people living here, I could they'll pay the mortgage. Dude, them brownstones in Bergen and Washington worth $3 million. I could have got 2 for like over $300,000. But that's a learning experience, though. Like you have to realize there's a lot of times you're going to outgrow your circle and outgrow your people. Relationships a lot of times are seasonal. It's for a season, it's for a time. You don't have to break up your relationship with people, but you just got to be able to move on, go and grow. Those 2 G's, go and grow. They'll be there when you get back. Go out and go be great. And then they'll be like, oh, wow, whoa, yo, how'd you do that? Yo, because once I bought that first crib and I started realizing the money was coming in, the only negative thing I could tell you is about being a landlord. That's when I was like, oh, this shit ain't cool. Nobody tells the story about being a landlord. It's buying a house. Oh, you buy houses. But only people who tell landlord stories is other landlords to each other. Like we're surrounded by like, yo, this tenant is fucking. We won't tell y'all because we don't want to discourage you.
Yeah.
But I tell you all day, I don't care if you have the property and you live in Brooklyn, you got 7 properties in Brooklyn. I tell you, go get a property management company, bro. Go free up your time. You know why? Because that space that that real estate in your brain, the most expensive real estate, most valuable real estate is the one in your brain. You're giving that to all these tenants, maneuvering, managing that. But what if somebody else was managing that for 10%? People make it sound like it's a lot. 10% of the rent, pay them. Now guess what you're thinking about? How can I grow my empire more? How can I now take this business, these properties? Now I could take it, pour equity. I buy a business. I'm thinking about buying in other countries, which I'm doing now, and we'll get into that. Like, you got to be able to think beyond what you're doing. Some people ain't. But what you're doing now should always be the now, but you got to think about what's next. Stop thinking about your now as being your permanent. Like, the next thing should always be your conversation. Y'all doing this now, but if y'all not talking about what's next, there's somebody passing you every day. Everything is always about my next, my next, my next. Now is accomplished. Now is the shortest span of time. I snap my fingers, now it's over. Now it's over. Why are you focusing on the shortest span time in your life, which is now? The next, that's the best part. That's the longest time until you get there, then it's considered a now. Your next is considered a now once you reach it. And then you think about the next one. But we get so infatuated with, yo, I got this crib, I'm good.
Yeah.
Nigga, what's next? Yo, I got this job, I'm good. What's next? Y'all open up my spot, I'm good. No, it goes with everything. Everything you do, you need to focus on what's my next move. Because if you don't, you're going to grow stagnant. And the world's passing us by. Yeah, brother. That's the next one, man. I don't want to keep going. I get preachy.
I was gonna say, so like, but like, before we jump into out of the country investing, like, you're out of the state investing, like out of like, your home state, New York.
Yeah.
How do you like find these properties? Like, how do you make sure, like, before you even start negotiating or anything with the properties, like, how do you make sure, like, all right, this property's gonna cash flow? Like,
Right.
like, what's your math behind that?
Well, now it's much easier. When I started, it was like, it was different. It was Dell, learning how to do your numbers. Now there's websites like Roofstock. Roofstock shows you the property. It shows you how much rent you could get. It shows you your cash on cash return. It shows you all of that. So now once you find a property and they literally showing you you're going to make a cash on cash return, somewhere about 10 used to be great. Now an 8 or 9 is considered good because you're going to hold lease for 5 years. I only recommend holding properties for 5 years because after 5 years, that's when you have X caps. Things start to break. Furnace, HVAC, roof, plumbing is like you start having issues.
Because remember, your profit, right?
It eats into your profit. You only want to buy properties that, for me, tenant occupied. I don't want to buy something I got to find a tenant unless it's in a hot area. Like if you get a property that's in a hot area and you could get it filled, start buying it, but have a closing date of 45 days out. And while you're closing, you have another realtor list it so you can start getting tenants within those 45 days. And on the same day you close, now you can move the tenant right in. But don't wait till you close and now you're trying to relist it and now you got to pay a month mortgage. Right? So now that's the way. But also now I want you to think about it. You always want to look at properties besides being tenant occupied. You want to go programs. Like I'm telling you, Section 8 is for me. Veteran housing is for me. Some kind of shelter program is for me. Like all of that where you don't, look, the government's never late on rent, bro. The government's never late on rent. So why would I want to now deal with the mentality of which I mentioned to y'all? A lot of people know the game and they're going to screw you over on your rent. It's like crapshoot. Like now it's to the point where you, as a landlord, you kind of in a tight spot of raising your rent because you want to raise your rent 5%, 3%, 2%. Now I got my property management companies are like, yeah, do we even mention raising the rent? Because they're good tenants and they're paying the rent and I'm making profit. So I go, you know what? Tell them we'll do it 2%.
Right.
And if there's any pushback, I go, fuck it. I'm still making profit and I got equity growth of the average of about 2-3% a year. So it's the same as raising the rent. So my thing is, I don't want to take a chance and kick them out to get somebody who's not gonna pay rent.